If you would like to, you may find Psalms 126 while I get ready myself. I've got a lot of illustrations in this today, so I'm going to give you a few and then we're going to go to the passage. A man once prayed like this: Lord, bless me and my wife, my son John and his wife, us four and no more. A childless couple prayed, Lord, bless us too, and that will do. An old bachelor prayed, Lord, bless only me, that's as far as I can see. You know, too many times people can't see past their own nose. It's always about me, 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 me. That's the problem with people today. Everybody's concerned with me and not about others. When Christ came to this earth, he was concerned about all of us. He wasn't saying me, 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 because, you know, how many people would go to the cross for you or me? Most people won't give you the time of day, to be honest with you. Now, a Sunday school teacher, after teaching the lesson of the Good Samaritan, asked the class what they had learned. One little boy piped up and said, I learned that whenever I get into trouble, somebody better help me out. So we got to be careful what we're teaching these kids. The preacher was called to hear the reading of the will of a wealthy member of his church who had died. The preacher and the man's family members were all disappointed to hear the will, which read, being of sound mind and body, I spent all my money on myself. Imagine the disappointment. They thought, hey, ha, ching, ching, you know. The man and his wife went too far. The man was fascinated by the airplane rides, but he balked at the price of the tickets, which were $20 each. Let's make a deal, said the pilot. If you and your wife can ride without making a single word, I won't charge you anything. Otherwise, you pay the full price. Good deal, said the man. So they went for a plane ride. And when they got back, the pilot said, if I hadn't have been there, I would never have believed it. You never made a sound. It wasn't either, said the man. I almost yelled when my wife fell out of the plane. Too many times we get too wrapped up in ourselves, don't we? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read all of Psalms 126, but it's 6 is the emphasis here. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord hath done great things for them. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. Dear Jesus, I do pray that you open our eyes and let us be more kind to our brothers and sisters throughout this world. Lord, I do pray that you touch our hearts and get us a little more like Jesus Christ himself. In Jesus' precious name, amen. That's one of the things that we don't really think about a lot of times. Most of this it's how we should be sharing Jesus Christ with others. We're not supposed to just keep it in and just go to church on Sunday and that's all we talk about, Jesus Christ. We should be bringing up Jesus Christ. Some people think that we just got to lead by example. I'm going to live a godly life and they'll get the idea. How many people come up to you and say, wow, I really want what you got besides your items and things you have? They'll come up, do they come up and say, wow, I want that Jesus Christ thing too? No, they don't. If you don't start telling them, they ain't going to know. If we just sit here and do nothing, they're never going to know who Jesus Christ is and what we do have. That's the thing. We need to share, just like they do over there. They go out, they share the gospel. They have more of a drive for the Word of God than we do here in America. Everybody thinks they've got everything they need when all we really need is Jesus Christ. We tend to get a little bit selfish. This land was the land of milk and honey. I mean, to be honest, it really is if you look at the rest of the world. And we're selfish. We want Jesus all to ourselves because we don't think there's enough of him to go around. Well, there's plenty of him to go around. He's bigger than anything we can imagine. And that's one of the biggest things. I've got 4 different things here. The going of the servant, the flowing of the tears, the sowing of the seed, and the mowing of the harvest. We've got to be the servants that go out and share the gospel just like they do there. If we don't go out and be servants of Jesus Christ by, number 1, going into prayer, flowing our tears, I mean, there's no greater humbleness than when you go to prayer and you're in tears to God. I can attest to that because I've done it, and I know that God will answer that prayer even sooner because he knows that you're in a moment of despair. He will be prompt on answering that prayer. That is a fact. He will be there, and it may not be the answer you want because he may be molding you. He's going to change your life through that prayer. So prayer does work, but we've got to sow the seed. That's like over in Pakistan. We're helping them sow the seed. We need to sow the seed too. We can't just sit idle. I love talking to people, and people up at the auction know what I am. Wesley knows that we've got this church here and that. And they treat me different. I don't tend to get into the obnoxious, foul-mouthed conversations because, like the owner up there, James, he'll say, "Watch your mouths." He doesn't even go for that up there. So he knows that you don't do that, number 1. But then, see, we've got to be able to mow that harvest. You know, I don't care what we use. I mean, we're not going to go out and kill people to mow the harvest and bring in the bodies, you know. We got to go out. We got to get them souls. Let them present Jesus Christ to them. Let God work in their hearts. We can't save anybody. Jesus Christ is the Savior. So we got to always remember that. Preacher John Wesley once said, "The church must go to the lost or go to oblivion." Someone else put it this way: "Any church which is satisfied to hold her own is on the way to the cemetery." There's a lot of churches that think that they're okay where they're at. They're not going out. Once we were looking for churches, and Rudy called one, they don't actively seek new people. Yeah, you believe that? A church actually said, the pastor said that. Anybody that says that, they shouldn't be in the profession, I guess you should say, because he should be retired or maybe going to work somewhere else, because you should always be seeking people to come to your church. That's one of the biggest things. Here's a good one for you. I worked as the assistant manager for the Silk Tree Factory in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, for about 3 years. Last year, the manager said to me, "I'm not looking forward to next year because we have some big sales to beat." And guess what? They're not beating them this year. Why? It's all because I'm not there, of course. People think sometimes that it's all about them. We need to make life about Jesus Christ. If we put Jesus as the center and the center of everything that we do, and we bring him up constantly, that's why I like having that plate on the front of my vehicle, because people look and they'll respond to you differently. I guarantee it. They look and they see that you're from a church, they change their tunes. They really do. I haven't got no rocks thrown at me or shots fired or anything like, not yet anyway. Not yet anyway. I'll say it that way. Not yet. I'm not taking it off. P.H. Welsheimer preached at the First Christian Church of Canton, Ohio for about 56 years. And at one time they had done one of the largest Sunday schools in the world. Yes, one of the largest. That was a long time ago, of course, and Brother Welsheimer said, "If we don't go, we're goners. If we want them coming down the aisles, we've got to go down the street. They will not seek, they must be sought." You know, Walmart will open up and they'll get customers in by the droves because, you know, prices, and they run everybody else out of business too. But we're not in the business of running churches out of business. You know, you don't want to go out and say, "Oh, hey, come on over here. We actually pay you to come to church here." No, we're not doing that. But could you see a church doing that to get people to come in their doors? Yeah. And then put on the loud music and all this other stuff to try to keep them there? I always stem back when we were doing with Liberty. I had to do that thing and had to go out and see websites of churches, and then I had to do my feedback and all this in like a 3-page thing. And this one church, it was in Virginia. They had several different locations, and they were just finishing that $1.5 million, I think it was, latest one. And their biggest slogan was, so that we're within 10 minutes of you, you can go to any one of our locations. We're here to serve you. I'm like, why didn't you just go and send off missionaries and get other churches planted and not be all of one church? So they've got a head pastor and they got all these pastors under him and all these satellite churches. They should be all independent. You can't have a conglomerate. That's not the right thing to do. This one I love. A certain preacher called his leaders together and said he was about to resign his ministry at that church because he hadn't seen anybody won to Christ for a considerable period of time. They begged him to stay, saying that they were greatly edified by his preaching. He said, edified for what purpose? Turning to one leader, he asked him if he had ever won a soul to Christ. No, was the answer, and the question was put to the next leader, and the next, and the next, and they all answered that they had led no one to Christ. Finally, the preacher got all the leaders to promise that they would also resign with him if within a short period of time they personally led no one to Christ. By Monday morning, one leader had led a fellow worker to Christ and to be baptized. And by the next Sunday, a total of 11 people had been led to Christ and to the baptistry. When our jobs or positions are on the line, we'll get up and move, won't we? That was an excellent approach that he took because, you know, if you're all just sitting there doing nothing to get people led to Christ, then that's what's going to happen. You ain't going to do nothing. You're dead weight. So you got to get up and move and be able to do it. Like I told you, I have a lot of illustrations on this because this was about Jesus Christ. And this is how we go out and we got to serve. Here's this one. In Ocean View, Delaware, Brother Harvey Bream, former president of Sin Bible College, held a revival many years ago. A 75-year-old man who attended the meeting indicated that he was not a Christian, but wanted someone to call on him. Harvey and the local preacher called on the old gentleman on Monday morning. Harvey had 3 Bible studies with the man that week. After the 3rd Bible study, Harvey had a prayer with the man. After prayer, he looked up and the tears were streaming down the old man's cheeks. He said, Mr. Bream, I've gone to a lot of churches in 75 years and heard a lot of preachers preach, but you are the first 2 men to take the time to come into my home and show me from the Bible what I must do to be saved. And they baptized that man that day. You know, you're never too old to be one for Jesus Christ. You're never too old. Her grandmother was very old, and that's proven. Sometimes it's something, a situation in life. Her son dying is what actually drove her to getting saved. How he died. Testimonies, your own testimony can sometimes reach other people. So don't be selfish. Too many times we're selfish with our own lives. Joni goes out and gives her testimony. If that isn't one that will sit there and move you to know that Jesus Christ can heal everything, that is something that we all ought to be able to listen to. Think about what's happened in your own life. If you don't know how to talk about Jesus Christ, tell them what Jesus has done in your life. And honestly, he does something for each and every one of us every day. You know, so many times I'll go into town or come back from town, and it don't even go to Nashville and back. I'll always get behind somebody that's just putting along. And my beautiful wife always says, you know, maybe God's trying to slow you down for a reason. He's teaching me patience, Rachel. But it seems like I always get behind them people that go in 35 or 40 miles an hour on the highway. And it's aggravating. Oh, you know, I think God is trying to teach me patience. You know, I'll get there when I get there.
Well, I know I have patience.
But don't pray and ask for patience. Ask for wisdom. I've learned the hard way. You know, in Matthew, in 35 and 36, Jesus was going through the towns and villages and teaching and preaching, he would go from town to town and town. And you know, if they wanted to run him out, you brush the dust off and you keep on going. It's not sit there and dwell on somebody that's wanting to kill you or stone you. It's time to move on. Jesus closed that door, and you know, the bad thing is we need to pray for those people that do that. Just like the persecutors over in Pakistan, the Muslims, we need to pray for them because, you know, they're going to be the losers in the end. They're losing more than what we have and what our saved brothers and sisters have because, you know, we have the mercy and grace of Jesus Christ. And when we get to heaven, we're going to have the greatest life. You know, like my finger hurts all the time. Like, I mean, there'll be sometimes I'll just like flinch. But you know what? It won't hurt no more. My shoulder won't hurt. My back won't hurt. I won't get sad feelings anymore either. I won't get despairing feelings anymore. Won't have to worry about paying bills. It'll be up to the kids and Rachel. That is if I go first. But the way God works, he'll take everybody else and I'll be standing here saying, God, now I know I'm saved. The rapture couldn't have happened. On Friday night, December 10th, 1982, around 9 p.m., my mom called me and said that Dad was in the hospital because of a heart attack. I told her I would get there just as soon as I could, and I lived about 200 miles away. Well, I didn't leave that night, and the next morning, about 5 a.m., the phone rang. I wondered, who in the world is calling at this time of the morning? It was Mom. She said, Daddy's gone. I never had anything strike me as hard as that, at least at that time. And at Dad's funeral, I wept and wept. I wept louder and longer and harder than anyone you see. My dad was not a Christian, and that thought just tore me apart. If we know somebody that's dear to us that is not, it is our duty to Jesus Christ. Pound on them, tackle them down, get on top of them, pound them in the face a couple of times, but at least let them get their attention and talk to them about Jesus Christ. I mean, don't hit them and beat them and all that stuff, but keep talking about Jesus Christ. Don't ever let up, because we don't want to be like this young man here when his dad dies and he's gone to hell. And there's nothing we did to change that. That's why we are to be the servants. A man said to a friend of his, come and have a round of golf with me on Sunday morning. Oh, I couldn't do that. I have to go to church. Well, replied the friend, I don't know what kind of church you attend, but you can't keep it to yourself. I have asked you to play golf with me 12 times, and you have never invited me to your church. Wow, that's bad. Somebody keeps asking you to go do something, and that'd be like somebody asking me to go fishing on a Sunday. And I said, sorry, but no, you can come on to church with me. I'd be glad to have you. You know, but too many times people don't do it. So we've got to start looking right here. I like this one here. One church sent its annual statistics to its denominational headquarters. Here's what they reported. Number of members added by baptism, 0. Number of members added by letter, 0. Number of members dismissed by letter, 5. Number of members who have died, 3. Amount of money raised for home missions, 0. Amount of money raised for foreign mission, 0. Wow. You know, there's a lot of churches out there like that. We don't really raise money for missions too much, really. We just do it. We just faith. I mean, it just sometimes we just sit and say, okay, they got this need. We got to do something. In Matthew 9:37-38, Jesus said, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out the workers. Ask him to send people your way to go out there and do that. If there's somebody that can go out and talk, hey, come on, we need you. Our church body needs you. That's what Jesus Christ wants us to do. Preacher Bob Russell tells a story about a woman who attended their church. He said, following a woman's Bible study group, a woman asked to see me. She told of a sordid past of 4 marriages and sinful complications. Although she was only in her early 30s, she asked, "Can I come forward and be baptized this Sunday? I'm so thankful for what I'm learning from studying the Bible here. If only I'd known about these principles earlier in life, they could have saved me from a lot of hurt. But thank you for teaching me the Bible. This is changing my whole life." That's why we got to tell people about Jesus Christ. You can't, and when the things have happened, we've got to be there to help guide them. Not bring them in and say, okay, you can sit in that chair there because that's for that kind of sinner. No, we don't do that kind of thing. You go to a lot of Baptist churches, everybody's in the back rows, the front's all empty. When I first went to church, I'd always sit up in like the second or third row. I'm not afraid to sit up front. What's the problem? Is he going to call on me and ask me a question? No. But today we will. No. We don't have certain seating arrangements. The worst sinners in the back and then so forth, or put the big sinners up front so we can all keep our eye on them, because that's the thing we need to do. No, we got to sit there and just learn to be loving and open to everybody. Shush the floor. So now we're going to go ahead. We've got communion today. It is open. It is up to the